Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Dylan's hands shook as he grasped the edge of the hospital cafeteria table, the cheap laminate cool against his palms. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like a swarm of angry insects, and the aroma of burnt coffee hung in the air. Steffi sat across from him, her eyes red-rimmed, and her Forrester demeanor cracked just enough to reveal her tiredness. She hadn't slept in 48 hours. Neither of them had. Not since the call about Luna's car driving over the cliff on Mulholland. Steffi's voice hardly rose above a whisper. They discovered her jewelry amid the debris. Dylan. The one Poppy gave her. It was melted into the dashboard. The medical examiner claimed no one could have survived that crash. Dylan swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing as he tried to force the words back down. But they were clawing their way out now, after weeks of silence and a funeral that no one wanted to believe was genuine. "She's not dead," he stated, his words flat, definite, and horrifying. "I believe she is still alive," Steffi said, looking at him as if he had struck her. "Dylan, I know how it sounds." Despite the fact that the cafeteria was virtually deserted at this hour, he leaned forward and spoke quietly. "I know what the cop said. I understand what the coroner said. But Luna summoned me 3 nights ago, from a blocked number. She didn't speak much. Tell them you're sorry. Tell them I didn't have a choice." And then the connection went dead. "Steffi." Steffi's face had lost its last bit of color. "That's not possible. I thought I was going crazy too," he joked. "I felt it might be a terrible hoax. Someone is using one of those voice apps." But it was Steph. She laughed at the end. That ridiculous little snort she gives when she's nervous. "You know the one," Steffi admitted. She closed her eyes and was transported back to the Forrester guest home, where Luna was giggling over margaritas and RJ rolled his eyes at them. Dylan continued going, the words falling out as if he had been holding them in for so long that they hurt. She claimed someone forced her off the road that night, that it was not an accident. She threatened to flee, or RJ would be targeted next. "Who comes after us all?" Steffi's voice cracked. "Who the hell are they?" "I do not know. She would not tell me. She was crying so hard that I couldn't understand her. She kept saying, 'He'll kill me if he finds out I called.' Then she said, 'Don't trust.' And the call went dead." Steffi's mind raced. Luna had enemies for sure. Growing up with a mother like Poppy is certain to result in some mistakes. But this? Staging your own death? Going into hiding while the entire city was mourning you? "She faked the crash," Dylan stated quietly. "I had been thinking about it continually. The car was so extensively damaged that they couldn't even perform a dental identification immediately away. They used the jewelry and hair from her brush at the beach house. Unfortunately, the body was severely wounded. They presumed." Steffi felt as if the floor had fallen out from beneath her. "You're telling me that my cousin, my family, is out there someplace, afraid and alone, and we buried an empty box." "I'm telling you Luna's too obstinate to die in a vehicle accident," Dylan remarked firmly. "You know her. She is a survivor. She did what she had to do." Steffi stood so quickly that her chair scraped against the tile. "We need to inform Finn. We have to tell my father." No," Dylan gripped her wrist. "That is why she phoned you, Steffi. Not RJ, not you. Me. Because she knew I'd keep quiet till I figured out who we could trust." Steffi snatched her arm away. "Have you been sitting on this for 3 days?" "I've been looking for her," he growled. "I've been driving up and down the coast, checking out every Fleabag motel between here and San Diego. I utilized the app we used to locate each other when we were sneaking around behind RJ's back, remember? The one that pings when the other person's phone is turned on. It lit up 2 nights ago. Outside Barstow." Steffi felt like throwing up. "Barstow? At the Desert Rose Inn, there's a burner phone with a bogus identity. I went there. The cashier stated that a girl matching Luna's description checked in 4 days ago. We paid in cash." She kept her hood up. "I never left the room except to use the vending machine at 3 a.m. Steffi's heart was pounding so hard, She could hear it in her ears. Have you seen her?
No.
By the time I arrived, she had left. I left a note for the maid under the door. He went into his jacket for a folded piece of paper with a hotel emblem on top. He hesitated before sliding it over the table. Steffi unfurled it with shaky fingers. Luna wrote in her own handwriting. She'd recognize it anywhere. I apologize. Tell Mom you love her. Tell RJ that I will always love him. Do not look for me. He is still watching. Steffi looked at the words until they blurred. Who is he? I believe it is Tom, Dylan remarked gently. Steffi's head snapped upward. Tom Star. Luna's whoever he was. He's in prison. No, Dylan replied. He got out. Early release. Overcrowding. 3 weeks ago, Steffi felt the world shift. Tom Star, the drug-dealing musician who had gotten Luna addicted to those nasty mints, had threatened her when she attempted to leave him. Luna had testified against him in order to get him sentenced to prison. But the crash, everyone said it looked like she was running away from someone. The tire marks. Exactly, Dylan replied. She wasn't fleeing from the police that night. She was fleeing from him. Steffi put her fists to her temples. Why isn't she coming to us? To RJ? To me? Dylan explained, because she thought he'd hurt us to get to her. You know how she is. She carries the weight of the world on her little shoulders. She'd sooner die or pretend to than do harm to anyone else. Steffi looked down at the note once again.
Do not look for me.
But Steffi Forrester was not designed to heed warnings. We're finding her, she said, her voice as steel. And when we do, we'll finish this. Whoever this he is, Tom, someone else, we're ending it. Dylan looked her in the eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he didn't appear to be broken. He appeared to be willing to destroy the entire world in order to reclaim her. Then we start in Barstow, he explained. Steffi folded the note and placed it in her pocket. Get your keys. They walked out of the cafeteria together, two individuals who had spent months loathing each other but were now united by the unthinkable truth. Luna Nozawa was still alive. Someone had tried to kill her for it. Dylan had not intended to say anything. For weeks, he had carried the words in quiet, letting them push against his ribcage like a sharp object he was terrified to handle. But the instant he walked inside the dimly lit Forrester guest house and saw RJ's expression, something inside him shattered. He could sense the anguish, bewilderment, and bitterness radiating through the air. He soon realized he couldn't keep quiet any longer. RJ stood by the window, staring out into the dark grounds, as if looking for someone who may emerge from the shadows at any moment. Dylan was taken aback by the exhausted look in his eyes when he turned around. It was the same expression he'd seen in the mirror for weeks. Did you hear anything? RJ inquired, attempting to sound steady. Dylan gulped. Actually, I came to talk to you about that.
He paused.
About Luna. The name stunned the entire room.
RJ.
He slowly straightened up, his hands clenching into fists. Don't, he replied. Don't mention her name until you've got anything real. I can't handle it any longer when others tell me it's time to accept she's gone. Dylan raked his fingers through his hair. He hadn't prepared for any of it. But just as those words were ready to come out, he felt the truth boil in his throat. I think she's still alive, he said. RJ glanced at him, as if he hadn't heard right. Dylan couldn't tell which emotion would erupt first, as his visage twisted between shock, fury, and optimism. What did you say? I believe she is alive. The words were softer this time, but firmer. RJ made a step forwards. Why would you say such a thing? His voice was low and dangerous. Tell me you aren't doing this to make yourself feel better. Or because you believe I require hope. It's not hope. I noticed something. What did you see? RJ demanded. Saw what? A ghost? A memory? Dylan, you were the last person with her before the accident. You were the one who said she left the road. You said, I know what I said, Dylan interrupted, his voice shaking. And I lied. The silence that ensued was terrible. Even the ticking clock on the wall appeared to stop. RJ's jaws constricted. You lied about how the accident occurred. Dylan nodded and breathed shakily. I wasn't sure how to explain it without sounding insane. And then things got worse. One untruth led to another. And as more people mourned her, it got more difficult to convey the truth. Start talking, RJ said. All of it. Dylan sat down on the side of the couch, burying his face in his hands. When he looked up again, his eyes glistened with something more than guilt. Luna wasn't inebriated when we left the party that night. Do you know that? Of course she wasn't, replied RJ snapped. Luna doesn't drink. Exactly. She hadn't been acting like herself for a few hours. She kept checking her phone, as if someone was threatening her. When I asked her what was wrong, she dismissed it. But she was scared. I could tell. RJ's brow furrowed. She didn't say anything to me. I don't think she wanted you to worry. Luna always tries to manage everything on her own until she can't longer. Dylan breathed. When we got into the car, she asked me to drive. She stated her hands were trembling. She did not wish to crash. RJ flinched. We were about 5 minutes away from the estate when a black SUV began following us. At first, I assumed it was random, but then it accelerated. Dylan's palms trembled with the remembrance. Luna warned me not to stop. RJ stated that she had been under surveillance for days. I blinked hard.
Who?
Who was monitoring her? I do not know. She never told me. Dylan pressed his palms against his knees. But this was not a coincidence. That SUV kept driving us towards the cliff edge. They didn't try to terrify us. They wanted us off the road. RJ's chest rose and sank quickly. So the accident was not an accident. No, Dylan said quietly. And as the automobile overturned, we hit the slope halfway down. I blacked out for a few seconds. When I awoke, the automobile was upside down but alive. I called Luna's name. She replied.
RJ.
He lurched back a step, as if the floor beneath him had slanted. She was harmed, Dylan said, but she was conscious. I crawled out via the smashed window. I was about to pull her out, when I heard voices. More than one. They were descending down the slope toward the car. And you abandoned her?
RJ.
I asked in disbelief. I didn't want to, Dylan explained, his voice breaking. But Luna grabbed my wrist and said, Go. They do not want you. They want me. She was afraid I'd be hurt too. She made me pledge to run and seek help.
RJ.
I stared at him, breathing hard. You told everyone you crept up the hill alone, and that she never woke up. I figured if I told the truth, whomever those individuals were would know I saw them. I went into a panic. When rescuers arrived, there was no sign of her. Nobody is there. There are no footprints. Nothing. It did not make sense. RJ stated that the persons who took her were aware of their actions. Turning aside, his hands gripped the windowsill so firmly that his knuckles turned white. His shoulders lifted and fell, torn between immense relief and unbearable horror. So you think she's alive because those people dragged her away, he finally said. Dylan gulped. That's part of it. But there's something else. RJ replied. Did not turn around. 2 days ago, Dylan remarked, I received a phone message. An unknown number. Only one sentence. RJ slowly. I faced him. What did it say? She hasn't left. RJ's breath stuck in his throat. And below that, Dylan added, was a photo. With shaking fingers, he took his phone from his pocket, swiped the screen, and held it up. RJ stared. It was fuzzy.
Dark.
Taken from behind. But unmistakable. Long, dark hair. A small figure. The shoulders were draped in a blanket. Someone led her through what appeared to be a warehouse hallway. RJ sank into the arm of the sofa, mouths parted in disbelief. That's her, he muttered. That's Luna. Dylan nodded. I believe whoever took her recognized she was essential. Perhaps they want leverage. Perhaps they want something else. But she is alive. I know she is, said RJ. I clutched the phone with shaky hands. This time, his eyes filled with rage rather than grief. Why haven't you shown this earlier? He asked. I didn't trust the police, Dylan admitted. I did not trust anyone. I assumed that if I went to the authorities, the people who had taken her would harm her, or relocate her again. RJ admits, "I can't keep this quiet anymore," stood abruptly. "We need to find her. Tonight." "But we don't know where that place is," Dylan admitted helplessly. "Then we figured out," RJ says. Snapped. "I'm not waiting another day." Dylan exhaled with relief as he spoke with purpose. He had feared RJ would despise, detest, and curse him for everything he failed to do.
But, RJ.
I didn't squander a second of anger, not yet. He was a man on a mission. "Who else knows?" RJ asked. "No one." "Then we keep it that way," RJ replied. "We don't say anything to my father or mother until we have genuine proof. They'll panic and call the cops, and we'll lose any opportunity of silently trailing her. So what do we do?" "We'll start with the SUV," RJ said. "You mentioned it was black. Have you caught anything else? A license plate? Is there a dent? A symbol?" "No plate," Dylan replied. "But the front grille featured a peculiar symbol. I did not recognize it. It wasn't your typical car brand." RJ's eyes furrowed. "Describe it." "It resembled a triangle with a coil inside, almost like a snake curling around itself." RJ inhaled forcefully. "I've seen something like that before." Dylan tensed. "Where?" "In a magazine article, business exposés. A private investing group. Extremely secretive. They've been purchasing old properties in Los Angeles. Warehouses, factories, and abandoned structures. People refer to them as ghost corporations since no one knows who manages them." Dylan blinked. "Do you think they took Luna?" "I believe they needed someone with her connections," RJ said darkly. "Her mother works at Forrester. Luna is involved in our family's business. Perhaps someone wants to use us as leverage." "So, why message me?" Dylan inquired. "Why not contact the Forresters directly?" "Because you were with her," replied RJ said. "And because you ran. The person who took her is aware of this. Perhaps they believe you're simpler to influence." Dylan's stomach twisted cruelly. "But they made one mistake," RJ says. Continued, voice becoming sharper. "They think I won't come for her." Dylan gazed at him. "You can't go alone." "I'm not, you say?"
Said.
"You're joining me," Dylan said, feeling something firm and furious in RJ's eyes. "Whatever you think of what I did," Dylan stated gently, "I will assist you. I owe her that." RJ responded. "You owe her more than that," responded politely. For a long minute, the two remained silent, linked by shame, dread, and a frail glimmer of hope that neither had dared to feel until now. RJ finally returned the phone. "Send me a photo. And the message. And the time it was sent." Dylan agreed and forwarded everything.
RJ.
He grabbed his jacket. "There is a historic industrial sector east of downtown. Half of the buildings are abandoned, with the remaining half controlled by shell firms. We start there." "What if we don't discover anything?" Dylan inquired. "Then we keep looking," RJ said. "Because Luna did not vanish into thin air. Someone took her. And if someone takes her, they can return her." Dylan followed him to the door. "RJ, what if we're too late?" RJ hesitated, turning back with a glance that made Dylan's misgivings fade. "No," he replied firmly. "If she had been gone, they would not have sent that message. They want something. And whatever that something is, it indicates that she is alive." They slid out into the darkness, the cold air cutting at their faces. Luna may be stuck somewhere far beyond the Forrester estate, in a spot no one had ever seen, waiting for someone to come and rescue her. As they approached RJ's automobile, Dylan noticed the city lights below. "Hold on, Luna," he said quietly under his breath. "We're coming." For the first time since the accident, he felt a sliver of certainty. She was alive. They would find her.